예, 모스탄 대사님 안녕하세요. 이건 한국말로 얘기하겠습니다. 예, 잘
안녕하세요.
지내시나요?
네네.
Yeah, I think a lot of Korean Americans here and also Americans, elected officials, like for instance, Representative Young Kim, who I know a lot of people who work for her. They
Yes.
were very concerned about how you were doing since they put an exit ban on you, which is, I think, ridiculous. I never heard
Yeah.
anything like this in my life that
Yeah.
you mentioned something that was actually a lot of conservatives knew about, the Andong Dam situation, about,
Yes.
Lee Jae-myung when
Yes.
he was a youth, whether he committed, whether he committed crime like sexual assault or killing a girl. We don't know
Yeah.
yet. But
Yeah.
you talked about it in the Washington National Press Club last year. I think it was
Yes.
June 26th, right? I think that
That
was the
sounds about
date.
right. Yeah.
June
Uh-huh.
26th. And I think that's right after a recent discovery of a dead body in Andong Dam, right? Like around
That
May, right?
that emerged several days after my statement, actually. But yes,
Oh, did it
it
emerge
was
after?
yeah, it was the
Not
vice principal.
not prior?
Yes, it was several days after.
So that's kind of very ironic, right? How
Yes.
it could happen that way. So which means that which leads to my question. Did you know in advance? Did you get a tip that there's something coming up regarding that news?
Not about the vice principal's body, but I had gotten from multiple sources indications in regards to the Andong Dam situation.
Hmm. And which you elaborated in Washington, D.C. And what I don't understand the most is it just doesn't make sense. If they really didn't want you in South Korea, they have an issue with it, then they should have put a, what do you call, like a travel ban, right? Isn't that the logical
They
sense if
could
you
have,
don't
yeah,
want
they could
you?
have blocked me from entering,
Yes.
or they
Uh-huh.
could have kicked me out of the
Yeah.
country. But what they're really looking to do is put on a political show trial, and they're trying to make a public example out of me, where they're trying to basically say, "See, he didn't really have a basis to be able to say what he said, and he is going to be publicly punished in front of the whole country so that nobody would dare to raise these allegations again." And this is notwithstanding the fact that there are all sorts of indications of the truth of the matter.
Mhm.
And so this is, they even slapped on a second account so that when I spoke last July at the
Yeah.
the Unpyeongjae Church, uh, I asked a series of questions about this matter. And when I asked those series of questions, they turned that into a second count against me. And so apparently in this country, you can't even ask questions. Publicly asking questions is apparently problematic to this regime. And why they would also pass a law shortly after I made these statements at the National Press Club that is illegal to speak about the death of a minor is also,
That's ridiculous.
shows how ridiculous this is. There's also indications that Lee Jae-myung changed his birth date. And the reason why he changed his birth date, it seems, is because he wanted to show that he was not of the legal age of accountability, which would be 14.
Yeah.
And yet that makes the birth of his younger sister impossibly soon after his own birth. It makes it so that, there's a normal 3-month period before a woman becomes pregnant after giving birth.
Hmm.
And so that would indicate that his younger sister, according to the fabricated later date, that she was born in 3 months, which is impossible.
Hmm.
And so there's a whole series of lies here and a whole series of ways. He did not grow up in the sort of impoverished circumstances that he tries to put forward. It was maybe at least a middle class family in terms of financially. So then why did he not go to junior high and high school? He tries to make up that he had to go there to support his impoverished family. But that narrative is also false because he did not have an impoverished family that he came from.
Hmm.
And yet he did not graduate from junior high and he did not graduate from high school. And he instead took the equivalency
Yeah.
exams to get credit for The equivalency exams are like the GED in the United States. And he did those. So then where was he during that time of junior high and high school? And he claims, oh, he was busy working this job and that job. No, he wasn't. And so because his family couldn't afford to live apart from that, this guy tells so many lies. I don't know if he ends up believing them himself, but I doubt it. Even recently, when there were changes in the law that were being made in terms of the age of criminal accountability, he took an excessive interest in that and was publicly speaking along these lines. And so these are not the sorts of things that are done when one is innocent and confident of being innocent along these lines. Or take what his older brother has said about him and how he spent time in a reformatory. That's juvenile detention. This is from his older brother, right? And so his older brother himself publicly indicated that his younger brother, Ijeong, was in a detention facility, a reformatory. And then when the body of this vice principal appears with the hands being cut off and the feet being cut off, and then this is chalked up as a suicide, who cuts off their hands and then cuts off their feet and then jumps into a lake, a body of water to commit suicide. On top of that, the body was preserved. The body would not be preserved but for being wrapped and a process being happened to wrap and mummify the body. And so that is what is far more plausible in terms of what happened, that this was a murder. This was not a suicide. And how could the body be that well preserved? If it was a suicide and the person just hopped in, apparently with no hands and no feet, and then had a body that was preserved so well many years after the fact, these things all strain credulity and are all indications that foul play is about here. And so why was he actually murdered? That is a question that must be asked. And so if there were no crimes committed by the group of young people who are alleged to have engaged in rape and murder,
it's a gang rape, right?
Yes, there's too many suspicious things here, too many indications of foul play, and so you have testimony of people who are from that area as well, in regards to what had happened. There are also pictures of Ijeong wearing the common uniform of those who were in juvenile detention at that time. And that has also been confirmed. So there is more than enough evidence that if this was a criminal case, that would warrant the criminal case to move forward. If there was a prosecutor doing this, but the thing is, if you do the GED type thing, then you can apply to have your criminal record purged. And so because the criminal record was purged, this is, I think, one of the reasons why he's trying to push this forward as if he is innocent. But there's too much here that are pointing to the direction towards guilt as opposed to innocence. And yet he wants to basically do this show trial to try to silence any mention of this, because look, the man has also been already convicted of multiple things in his past.
I think he's a criminal.
Yeah, he has ties to organized crime in Seongnam. He actually even defended those who were basically Korean mafia as an attorney, including in a double murder that occurred, and he was basically defending this mafia element along these lines, and has been tied in. So he's already been convicted of multiple things. He already has 5 cases and 12 counts against him that he has done everything in his power to try to block and to keep from moving forward. And so, the sad reality is you have somebody at the who has illegitimately seized power, who is aligned with North Korea, who is aligned with the Chinese Communist Party, who is against the United States, and is really trying to finish the communist revolution here, and has arrogated to himself all sorts of ridiculous powers. When you have just over the last several years, 8,799 laws that have been passed, many of which are to defend Ijeong, to consolidate power, to collapse the separation of powers and the checks and balances. When you have a law that says that they can override the ruling of a judge if they disagree with it, it's crazy. You don't have the rule of law anymore. No. This is rule by law. This raft of laws have also taken out and extinguished a lot of the rights and freedoms of people here in Korea, and apparently even people who are not even Korean citizens like myself.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And so if the U.S. doesn't recognize quickly what is going on and the full extent of it, that there is a real danger that South Korea being collapsed the way it is, that South Korea would not defend Taiwan if invaded, is inviting North Korea to take over, and for South Korea to be absorbed by North Korea, and for the entire Korean peninsula to then be a vassal state of the Chinese Communist Party. This is the reality of what is transpiring. And I've been watching this deeply and closely and researching it extensively. I also know what North Koreanization looks like because I have spent most of my career as a scholar researching and digging into North Korea matters. And so I see the North Koreanization of South Korea happening at an accelerated, rapid pace going on. And the U.S. government and the people in the United States need to wake up and realize that this is what is happening. I think there is increasing knowledge of what is happening, but, to say, agree with Ijeong's demand to give him nuclear submarine technology, well, if you want to hand that over to North Korea and to the CCP, yeah, that'd be a great idea if that's who you want to hand this technology over to. He is also demanding that the U.S. hand over the UN Central Command wartime operational command over to South Korea and to this illegitimate regime. That would also hand the country over to North Korea and to the CCP. And so there's no way the U.S. should do that. And so there are so many red flags that are here. And yet, there was a U.S. journalist who was trying to spin this false narrative and was trying to say that the martial law declaration was illegitimate, even though it's under the Korean Constitution, even though President Yoon, the rightfully elected president of Korea, was doing this to wake the sovereign people up and was doing this to go against election fraud. Has been spun by so many media people that this was a botched martial law.
Who is that U.S. journalist who said that? The one that you were talking about?
There have been many, but
you mean like
one
AP
of the ones who said this kind of thing recently was in the Washington Times of all places.
Washington Times said that among all places.
That was really
conservative.
surprising.
But Washington Times has a tie with the Moonies. The Moonies own it, and then Moonies play both sides on the South Korean, politics. I think they're actually aligned more with the Democratic Party. Is it not? In South Korea?
Well, most of the articles I've seen coming out of the Washington Times are conservative.
They are conservative,
and they are in favor of most of the articles I've seen.
Yeah.
But this was a really surprising exception to that.
And you even wrote an op-ed there, right? Didn't you write an op-ed before?
Yes, I have. I have. And Yeah, so this was surprising. And he thought the election of Ijeong was legitimate. And he was like digging up sources to try to say that the lawfare persecution of me is legitimate,
Even
and
after
that,
what happened in June 3rd in South Korea, where voter fraud has been exposed right now, and even, broadcasting companies like KBS and SBS have been heavily, covering that, even though 조선일보, 중앙일보, 동아일보 doesn't.
yeah, he seems sadly oblivious
I
or
can't believe it.
intentionally
But he's
trying
not
to
a
curry
journalist then. I don't
favor.
think he's a journalist then.
Yeah, that I don't know if he's trying to curry favor with the Lee Jae-myung regime. I don't know what this guy's doing, but the article was ridiculous and was manifestly false in many ways. And it was surprising to me coming from the Washington Times because I had
It
not
is.
seen an
It
article
really is.
like this coming from them.
So I'm
Yes.
wondering whether Lee Jae-myung has been targeting you because you came last year, no, this year, to expose a voter fraud that you expected would happen, which eventually
Yes.
it did happen. And we already knew that it was rampant in South Korea. South Korea is like the
Yes.
mecca of voter fraud
Yes.
across the world with
Yes.
Venezuela. And we already
Yes.
know that South Korea, their Miru system, the electronic
Yes.
vote count machine, has been
Uh-huh.
spread to like countries like Kenya, Congo, Zambia, all these nations, and they have been rigged. And they
Yes.
became pro-China, and they're giving a lot of their rare earth materials to China. And I
Yeah.
don't want, and sometimes I'm getting angry that whether Trump administration knows about all this and
Yeah.
they're using this voter fraud machine to take over nations, even South
Yes.
Korea.
Yes. It's estimated over 70 countries
Yes.
have been that their political
76, right?
offices,
72? Yeah, something like that.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
according to
have been
Patrick
taken
Byrne.
over. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's why you had people coming all the way from the Democratic Republic of the Congo to protest
Yep.
against the means of election fraud being
Hmm.
exported there. And it's through this entity called the Association of World Election Bodies, which is
AWEB
based here in South Korea, which is a
at
CCP
Incheon. Hmm.
forward base to be able to spread the means of election fraud around the world.
Yeah.
And so this is right here in Korea. And so this was supported by USAID.
Hmm.
So, Trump,
American taxpayer money, right? USAID.
yeah.
Yep. And so we were
So
supporting
Trump
all
did a
these
good
voter
job.
fraud that is
Yeah.
detrimental to America and American allies.
Yeah. Yeah. So Trump did a good
This is
job of
insane.
dismantling USAID.
So many bad
And
things have been disappeared after USAID has been defunded.
that's right. And so this was created by the National Election Commission of Korea,
Yep.
which was putting out all these praising encomiums of Mao Zedong and Wang Huning. And Wang Huning is the CCP
He's
mastermind
the
behind all
architect,
this.
right? He's the
Yeah,
architect of the voter fraud across
yes, that's right.
internationally, right? Yeah.
That's right. And it follows the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yep.
If you look at the countries that this is targeted and hit. And so, yeah, this is what is going on. Trump very accurately identified the
Yep.
CCP and North Korea
Hmm.
explicitly in his bombshell speech. And Kash Patel's report also identified how Korean air flights filled with fake IDs and fake ballots
Yeah.
were sent
Right.
over to Arizona, the key swing state.
I was the first one to report that actually, Ambassador Tan, among the Korean American journalists, and
Good for you.
yeah, and
Good for you.
there's no. I'm trying to reach out to their office too. I think it was Paul Gosar's office. I think their chief of staff actually went there to the airport and then
Good.
they verified it.
Good.
But what angers me is I want to know the updates, whether there's some kind of case against it and all that. And we know that President Trump talked about it last month, about 200,
Right.
that CCP had access to 220 million voters here in America, which goes
Yes.
to show that South Korea is like lunch to them. It's so easy if they
Yeah.
penetrated American systems. So
Yeah.
I think it seems like President Trump does know about all this, but I'm not sure whether he knows the AWEB angle, that South
Mm,
Korea is the main. I think the
mm.
CCP used South Korea, so South Korea
Yes.
exported their technology to all these countries like Zambia. I mean, African countries are very important. It's not like how they used to be before. Kenya, Zambia,
Yes.
Congo. We
Yes.
need these. America needs those nations for rare earth because CCP has always been attacking America with their, weaponry of rare earth, because we have to rely on these rare earths. So I think, do you think President Trump knows about all this, AWEB, the things that you and I are talking about just now? Do you think White House is having these kind of conversation and the Secretary of State having these kind of conversation?
I haven't heard public mention of AWEB by President Trump or Secretary Rubio. I don't know if they're talking about it behind closed doors at this point, but I am not aware of it being publicly identified yet by the second Trump administration. So that's a great question. I would love to think that they know. I don't have any public indication that that is the case. There was the Michael Lindell case that identified that there were 6,432 Trump votes that were deleted in Antrim County, Michigan during the 2020 election. And so this is what the Michael Lindell lawsuit helped to bring to light.
Yeah.
And I've been to that stadium. I've seen the place itself. This is where Ijeong was mayor. And he was then governor of that province.
Was he the governor, or was he the governor of Gyeonggi-do province around that time?
At that time, he was the governor of the province in which Seongnam City exists, and he was formerly the mayor prior to becoming the governor, he was the mayor. And so this was during his governorship, as I recall. And now this is the person who has seized the Blue House. And so, I think so many people in America still don't realize how rapidly the communization of South Korea is happening and how close the U.S. Basically, this overturn has basically already happened, and it's now just being played out.
You're right. It's already happened. You're right. It's not just in process. It already happened. You're right.
Right. And so the rule of law, according to the former Minister of Justice, he was also former acting president, he has said that the rule of law is 95% destroyed. 95%.
Well, that's what
If you don't have the rule of law, what do you have then? You have a dictatorship. Because you either have law as the king, or you have a king that is the law.
But I think there's a silver lining here, because that's why the left is divided now. Right? Yeah. There's even the left groups that think that he's becoming a dictator, Ijeong, trying to change laws, and he's trying to even get reelected so he don't go to jail. So I think there's a lot of uprising that's happening even among, talking heads. And I think his popularity has dropped from 60% plus approval rating to all the way down to between 35 to 40%. So things are not going his way. And I think the conservatives movement is kind of getting stronger, in my opinion, because the voter fraud has been exposed, and the real people, the grassroots people, have been talking about this nonstop. Isn't that also going on too? Isn't that a silver lining there?
No, that's right. I think that is what is happening. And so people are waking up here. And so that is good news that can be reported. People are rising up against this. And even the reported numbers for the approval rating, these are controlled and put out by the National Election Commission, which does the election fraud. They also pad the numbers. And so if they didn't pad these numbers...
They don't just rig the vote numbers. They vote the poll numbers too, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. So if the NEC official thing is 30-some%, what is the actual number?
I think it would be 20% under 20%. That's what I think what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think it just, we talk about Hillary Clinton body counts here in, like conspiracy theories, so many people died around her. But Lee Jae-myung is like the Korean version of Hillary Clinton. There's body counts, like 7 people died, left and right, and that is why many people are lingering. They are thinking that something did happen in Andong Dam. And I went to Korea last month. I was there for a short period. I took a taxi, and he actually lived in Andong. So he knew all the story about Lee Jae-myung, and he said he believed the story, and he definitely does not have a good reputation in Andong. When he got elected, he wasn't celebrated there.
Well, that was one of the questions I asked at the church when I asked a series of questions. I said, how come they weren't celebrating? one of their own being in the Blue House.
Exactly.
And, that is one of the questions I asked. And apparently you're not even allowed to ask questions in this country anymore. And so that constitutes count two. And for count one, what I said in the National Press Club, I said, it is reported that. And then I made the statement.
You didn't create it or you didn't report it
Correct.
yourself. It was already
Correct.
written somewhere, right?
Yes. So saying it is reported that and asking a series of questions is apparently not allowed here in this country.
And among all places, you did it at Washington, D.C., capital of
Yes.
America, capital city of
Yes.
America. So
Yes.
you could say it. It's ridiculous for
That's
what
right.
they're doing to you. And you're not just a regular citizen. You are Trump appointed ambassador for his
Yes.
first term. And a lot of people betrayed Trump during his first admin. Not
Yes.
you. You were loyal
No.
all the way throughout.
I was.
So for them to do this, how dare they? And I think
Yeah.
Trump is taking notice, and I bet there's going to be a huge payday coming.
Yes.
이재명.
Yes. This is a punch in Trump's face. And I was one of his ambassadors. Look, every time I got a call from the White House, they always said to me, "You're doing a great job."
Yeah.
That was the phrase that was used again and again when I would get called from the White House during my time in the ambassadorship. And so this is true even for a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil. To say things about a public political figure is right at the heart of constitutional free speech in America. And there's no way a South Korean court has jurisdiction over what a U.S. citizen said on U.S. soil that's protected by the U.S. Constitution, and much less a Trump ambassador.
Exactly.
And so this is a real indication, and I hope the U.S. government is fully apprised of the extent to which the basic rights and freedoms in Korea have been destroyed.
Yeah, and I think they're flat out anti-America, not just anti-Trump,
Yes.
anti-America. The way they
That's
are
right.
treating Coupang, the e-commerce company in South Korea, it's just ridiculous
Yes.
how they're persecuting this
Yes.
company. And I think for him, he's been accused of sending $8 million to North Korea as well. So I think that is against the international law as well. So
That's
I
right.
just think that he is just not hiding it anymore. He showed his true colors. And I think
Yes.
probably President Trump is using this, even the situation with you, as a bargaining chip almost. And he's putting a lot of economic pressure on South Korea.
Yes.
I think
Yes. Yes.
I think Ijeong wanted to develop, the Honan Bandoche, the semiconductor in
Right.
the Jeollab province. But I think
Right.
Trump noticed it and he want to block that. And it's ridiculous. You guys are supposed to invest in America. And I think President Trump, he's a smart guy. You know him. I mean, you were appointed by him. President Trump is
Yes.
playing this 4D chess, I think, especially
Yes.
regarding South Korea. And
Yes.
I don't know his cards all the way through, but I can
Yeah.
feel something's coming, and I think one of
Right.
the reasons why Lee Jae-myung's popularity, approval rating has been dropping in such a drastic way is because of President Trump's angle as well. They're putting a lot of pressure on him.
Yes. It's really telling when under Lee Jae-myung, there's the least number of military exercises that they've been participating in with the U.S. and jointly with the U.S. and Japan. And so when Trump says, okay, I'm going to cut my investment there in terms of military exercises, and, it was really telling when Lee Jae-myung was like, oh, good, okay, yeah, that sounds good, great.
It was funny. Yeah.
Like that really also shows his true face.
Yeah, he
And
was
so
pro
maybe
North
that's one
Korea.
of the things.
He didn't hide that he's pro North Korea. It's a good thing or something like that, right?
Yeah, and so maybe Trump just wanted to draw him out further to show the world that, he's not about defending South Korea. He's about handing the country over to North Korea. He's about handing the whole peninsula over to the CCP. And so maybe Trump was, in a sense, helping to expose him further. The Lee Jae-myung's unwillingness to help Trump with Iran is literally the first time in the history of the Korean-American alliance where the Korean military has not fought side by side, shoulder to shoulder with the U.S. military in a war that the U.S. has fought. The first time.
Yeah, you're right.
And
South
so
Korea
that should
helped
be
with Iraq, but you're right. They didn't. This is the first time.
every time, until this one.
Yeah.
And instead, he sends money over to Iran. you know,
That's crazy too. I think that's
and
just
then
just
and
rubbing
then
it in your face.
and then he accuses the Israeli military of
That's
committing a
crazy. That was
Holocaust.
another crazy blunder. I mean, I don't think it's a blunder. It was calculated on his part, but I think
Yeah,
that is the reason why I think Trump suddenly announced Michelle Park
hmm
Steele as the ambassador. That was around that timeline, because I think we all know that Ambassador Steele is very pro-Israel, and I think that was the last straw, in my opinion. What say you?
yeah, yeah. And you think that Ijeong has publicly said that he would arrest Prime Minister
Yep, he
Netanyahu
said that.
if he stepped foot in Korea? I mean, I don't know. He may have to wake up at the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering if Mossad is going to come
Mossad
busting
might
in at
come
some
after
point.
him. I think Mossad might come after him. Who knows?
There are Mossad agents that have been, on the Korean Peninsula.
Yep.
So to think that there is no possibility of that, I don't know if this guy thinks he's invulnerable or if and so much of the money he's sending to these crazy communizing organizations inside of Korea.
Hmm.
All this money he's handing over to the Chinese Communist Party in the name of like offshore wind power or solar equipment and things along those lines. Why not invest that money in the United States of America where it'd actually be a good
America.
investment and also something that would help protect the country and bring greater prosperity to the country rather than handing it over to these crazies inside the country that are like a fifth column. They are the internal communizing forces
Right.
that are communizing the country, that are North Koreanizing the country, and they are being massively subsidized by this regime. And so the people's hard-earned tax money is being employed to destroy the country from within. And so these people who are claiming to be for democracy are destroying democracy. The people who are claiming to be for the progress of the country are destroying its amazing progress that's made. These people who are claiming to be restoring democracy, they've really been destroying it. The people who are saying that they are for law and things along those lines are destroying the country by these messed up laws. The judiciary has been taken over. A large portion of the legal profession has been taken over, and that's on top of the media,
Yeah.
on top of the unions, the teachers union, the
Right.
Korean Confederated
Pretty
Trade
much
Union.
all the apparatus, right? All the establishments are taken over by the left wing side, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
the CCP, Ije명, I mean, they're all one and the same. That's what I worry
yeah.
about you, Ambassador, because of the judiciary. They're not going to be, you're not going to be able to have a fair trial there, I think.
That's why I fully expect this to be a politicized show trial. And, I had a chance to speak against the travel ban one time in open court,
Yeah.
and nothing I said made an iota of difference, even though the case legally is very, very clear. They have no jurisdiction of what a U.S. citizen says on
Not at
U.S.
all.
soil.
They have no
They
ground.
they have not provided me with fair notice, and that is a violation of my due process. And they substantively, whether under Korean law, the Korean Constitution, the Korean law in place when these statements were made, U.S. constitutional law or international law, like say the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 19, they are wrong on the substance of the law. This is clearly protected
No
free
question
speech.
about it. No question
Yeah,
about it. What they're saying is American law is wrong. That's what they're saying.
yeah,
They're saying that
yeah,
America's First Amendment, freedom of speech, is not supposed to be. That's what it is. And I think they're
yes,
intruding even in American,
yes,
legal system. I
yes,
think it's just ridiculous. And I think so you heard a word from Representative Young Kim. She
yes,
wrote a letter together with the Foreign Relations chairman, right? Brian Mast,
yes,
along with
yes,
two other Congress members, and they sent a letter to Kang Kyung-ha, the ambassador, to
yes.
South Korea, and then they condemned pretty much Lee Jae-myung administration. It was a pretty stern warning.
Yes, yes, Congressman Cloud, Congressman Smith. Yes, that's right. And right now, the current regime in South Korea is trying to lie and trying to maneuver around to buy time to complete the communization, the North Koreanization of South Korea.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And so the more time that is given to them, the more their lies are given credence. I think it was an all-time record fine that they slapped on Coupang. I think it was over four. Yep. I think it was over 400 million.
Something like that. Yeah, it's the highest
that's
ever.
Nonsense.
It's ridiculous. It's pretty much bankrupting the company. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and this is a Fortune 150 U.S. company, mm-hmm. and so this is an anti-American regime that arrested U.S. missionaries. The way that we're sending Bibles and basic needs over to North Korea, they arrested and jailed 6 American
It's ridiculous
missionaries.
too. And they always go after Christianity, right? Among all the religions. The communists hate Christianity the most. I mean, that's what we're supposed to hate communists too.
Yeah. So unprecedented in the history of the Republic of Korea and South Korea are the raids on Christian churches, the jailing of all these Christian pastors to the extent that they have. They've even have closed down and put tremendous pressure on Christian schools. And on top of that, get this, after I was commissioned as a missionary at a church, they are putting up to a 50% tax on missionary support.
How ironic. At the exact time when you were appointed as a missionary, right after that, right?
Yes.
I think it's just, there is no coincidence. And I think they are probably trying to set an example, but I think that's a severe mistake. Yeah. And do you think they're a little bit scared? Why are they? So what do you think the end game is? I do think Ijeong is taking orders from Xi Jinping. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. So look, every time there's something comes from the U.S., he goes scurrying off to meet with CCP officials.
Yeah, he does.
Even while he was meeting with President Trump, he sent someone to meet with a higher person in the CCP. Mm-hmm. So it's very blatant and obvious if you are paying attention and if you know what he is doing. And so he is blatantly pro-CCP, blatantly pro-North Korea, blatantly anti-US. And so this is all very, very blatant what he's doing. And so all these things of treating him as if he's actually aligned with the US is we do that to our detriment as America. And so this is very dangerous what is happening because
it really is. And I really don't know how this is going to play out, but I don't think it's going to play out well on Ijeong's side, because we know that United States is still the superpower, the sole superpower in the world.
That's right.
And President Trump is putting a lot of pressure on CCP, and CCP is not how it used to be anymore. I think they have lost a lot of ground. Their economic status is very severe. What I heard was it is severe. The middle class is disappearing rapidly. There's ghost towns happening all over the place because President Trump exactly is hitting where it hurts. To the CCP. And I think he does know what's going on in South Korea, the election issues, and South Korea, pretty much the east side of what's happening, what Venezuela has been doing, right? They're like co-partnership almost. And Ijeong wanted to make a country like Venezuela, these democratic lefties.
That's right. No, you're exactly right. I mean, Venezuela is like the model.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to make South Korea like Venezuela. He's trying to make South Korea like Hong Kong became after the CCP takeover. This is what is happening. You even had a U.S. permanent resident in the Olympic Park who was protesting, who was put in handcuffs and arrested.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
This is a U.S. permanent resident. And he came in to fight against this communization of South Korea. And I just talked with him yesterday. And he understands very clearly what is happening here. Mm-hmm. And so our government needs to have good and deep and thorough information about what is happening. I think our government needs key people to be brought into the administration to fight together with the administration against what is happening. There are certain people in the administration who have a good knowledge of it. For example, John Mills.
Yeah, John Mills
he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And so that's very important that he's on the inside. But there needs to be more people, I think, brought in to fight this fight, ultimately against the CCP. But if South Korea is allowed to just fall like this, then it is a major issue for the United
I don't
States.
think America's gonna let South Korea to fall because there's too much at stake because of
Yeah,
Samsung Electronics, the economic side of it, and the AI.
right.
The future is AI industry, right? And
Yeah,
Samsung Electronics and Hynix, they're making one of the best semiconductors that are used for AI. And I think America definitely does not want to give this just to CCP among all the
yeah,
nations out there. We all know that Trump is hell-bent on making America the best AI nation
yeah,
in the world, by far.
yes,
So, and I
yes.
think they need South Korea.
You're
And
exactly right. Those companies are producing like 50% of the
yes,
chips,
yes,
along these lines
hmm
that drive
hmm
these things. And
right,
US companies are putting huge investments
yes,
into this. And on top of that, these US companies or Korea branches are engaging in censorship in favor of the regime that's in place right now. My understanding is YouTube Korea has been doing that, X Korea has been doing that, Truth Social Korea has been doing that. So these various
since July
Korean,
7th, right?
yeah, yeah. And when that law came into force that relates to these media platforms, you have a greater suffocation of Korean media and social media. And the mainstream media here are,
It's horrendous. They don't even talk about the voter fraud. 조선일보, I mean, I worked at a legacy media. I worked at
yes,
중앙일보, one of the
yeah,
biggest, largest newspapers. But I mean,
yeah,
they're horrendous. They don't talk about the truth, and they're
yeah,
completely compromised. They got tons of money from CCP. All
yep,
these, all these
yep,
newspaper. But
yep,
I do think that broadcasting companies like SBS has been talking a lot about
hmm
which is
hmm
surprising to me, about the voter
yes,
fraud and
yes,
KBS too. So I think
that's right.
so I think
KBS, yeah,
yeah, there are voices.
KBS even broadcast press a media appearance that I did, a press appearance that I did, where a lot of media, including them, appeared,
Hmm
and they actually broadcast the whole thing unedited.
Wow, that's
And
impressive. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there was an attempted takeover of the KBS board, but it failed, and
hmm
so KBS was not completely taken over,
So there are people
and so
fighting.
yes, yes,
Yeah, and I think we got to keep on fighting. And
that's right.
you have become the symbol, between the relationship of America and South Korea, how bad it became.
hmm
I mean, could you imagine when you were the Trump admin ambassador at large for international criminal justice that you would be put on an exit ban, travel, you can't even go
Yeah,
back to your own hometown. It's just crazy,
yeah,
what
yeah.
what South Korea
This
has
is
become.
that's right. It's unprecedented, and the Moon Jae-in regime was really bad, but the Lee Jae-myung regime is so much worse. And things collapsed a lot during the Moon Jae-in administration,
Hmm
and they are going for the death blows now. They're trying to end South Korea as we've known it. And so they are taking steps that have never been taken before. And so people really need to wake up and smell the coffee here. Otherwise, we will have, the communist dictator number one in North Korea, communist dictator number two in South Korea,
Yeah,
and
right.
that we
That's what it
cannot
is.
possibly trust or rely upon or lean upon. And just think about what happens if the North Korea takes over the South concurrently with the invasion of Taiwan by the CCP. And South Korea is like, great, North Korea take over. And South Korea is like, Taiwan, what does that have to do with us? That's actually what Lee Jae-myung has said. What does invasion of Taiwan have to do with us? And then if the Philippines is taken over by the CCP,
Philippines is also turning into pro-China, right?
yeah, and if Japan is made to fall, what does the U.S. have left
They,
then? So
so they
these
can't let
things,
it. Yeah, they
this
can't let
cannot.
South Korea fall. If
No.
that is just a hard liner, and there's no.
Yes.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, and I do
Yes.
think the grassroots people, if you ask the regular folks, they would want to go to America, but they don't want to go to China. They don't want to go there. They don't want to travel there. They don't even go there. You know, even the lefties, they have their kids all go to school here in America, even though they spread all these anti-American rhetoric.
Right.
I do think it was good for Trump to put a, international ban on, temporary ban on all the visas right now, because he's now trying to find out if you're going to be anti-America, don't even come here. And I think that's the right way. We should have done it a long time ago, right? Is it not?
And yes, and I think a good follow-up would be to continue to kick out the CCP North Korea aligned people from South Korea.
I think we should
who are in the U.S. It's time to visa ban them.
Yep.
It's time to impose economic sanctions as well, because there's been a flat-out coup d'état here and in South Korea, and so that comes with economic sanctions. There are specific statutory authorities when there has been a coup d'état that the U.S. can levy, and it's more than high time for those to be put on there. There was a coup when President Park was ousted from office via impeachment and conviction. That was a coup d'état. And this is a coup d'état again, where the duly elected president, and how come it happens again to a conservative president? This is about whether or not South Korea will continue to exist as South Korea.
That's true. I mean, the first time around with President Park Geun-hye, that was wrong too. It was all based on fake news.
Yes.
It's the same as the Trump-Russia collusion thing. It was completely fabricated. The PC tablet thing was completely fabricated. I know the guy who fabricated that, Ambassador. He used to work at Korea Daily in a newspaper company in Los Angeles. And he was the one who fabricated all this, and everybody felt, and they didn't even chose that as one of the evidence. So which was completely ridiculous. And then it happened again. And I do blame Kukkimdang, the People Power Party people too, the betrayers. It's always those rhinos who make these impeachment happen, in South Korea. And in South Korea, you don't have both chambers. So one chamber, you're gone. And I think the legal system is completely taken over. The constitutional court completely bought and paid for. And at this point, we are praying, and we pray for you, Ambassador.
Thank you.
And we want to know, how. So what do you think is the most effective way to fight this nonsense? This ridiculous, this crazy monster. This is like a satanic monster that we're fighting up against, right? This is like a spiritual battle.
Yes. The thing is, something that would actually be an elegant solution that would bring in, potentially solve multiple things, is if President Trump brought me back into the second administration. For example, the 3 North Korea special envoy positions are unfilled right now.
Oh, okay.
And the administration, I think, could use somebody who's been delving deeply into these matters, who's dedicated much of my life to these matters of the Korean Peninsula. And if that happens, and I'm brought back into the Trump administration, like I was in the first Trump administration, that would also carry diplomatic immunity, which could be used then to end the politicized lawfare.
That immediately
persecution.
Frees you, right? That immediately free you from the current situation that you're facing.
Yes, and it enables me to take the wealth of knowledge and experience that I have and put it at the service of the second Trump administration to resolve these matters. I believe that the Trump administration can be the administration that reunifies the Koreas, that does so with a U.S.-aligned constitutional republic, representative democracy, free markets, that would be a huge boon to the United States. Trump could be the president to do that. And I could be there with him to be able to enable that to happen. I have the knowledge, I have the connections, I have the wherewithal to be able to enable Trump to do that. Mm-hmm. And so if he brings me back in, and of course it's up to him, but if he brings me back in, it would potentially solve things and potentially be a step towards making history here. And I believe Trump is the president who can do that. I pray that Trump is the one who does that. And that would be true whether or not I'm in there, but I believe I can help tremendously if he is willing to bring me in again. And as you noted, I was loyal throughout, not only the time of the first Trump administration and throughout my time of service in it, but I have been loyal to Trump throughout Biden's administration. And I have continued to remain loyal
When
to...
Trump was facing his own litigation problem here in the States.
That's right. That's right. He knows something about politicized lawfare. He knows something about a stolen election. He knows these things firsthand. And I've been supporting him, rooting for him, cheering for him. And that is something that has been consistent throughout. And so if he could use someone like that, I am poised and ready to do so if he wants that.
Yeah. And I bet President Trump knows because since Representative Young Kim and Brian Mast, did you meet some of the representatives? According to the letter, I think they had a meeting with you and they were glad that they saw you were healthy and stuff. So you did have a meeting with them.
I did.
So they went to South Korea all the way to meet you specifically.
Among other things, but yes.
Yeah. So I really wish that you can become the special envoy. It seems like that is the best method because I don't think you're ever... I wish that you can get a fair trial, but I don't think you will. I'm not expecting anything.
I would be shocked. Honestly, I would be shocked because there's been nothing legal about this. Jurisdictionally.
Right. I mean, from the get-go, the premise is wrong. The premise is wrong, so what do you expect, right?
Yeah. So if it holds true to the pattern, not to mention the pattern of what's going on more broadly in the country, I would be shocked if there's anything resembling the rule of law that happens and that's reflected by my criminal trial. And I have been indicted. Can you believe that? I've been indicted. The first trial date appropriately is September 11th. And
September 11th, right? Mm-hmm.
But it's being estimated that this could drag on for 6 months to a year and things along these lines. To keep allowing this lawfare persecution to continue, I failed to see how this helps the United States.
Right. How do you think this whole thing is going to play out? Not just your situation, but they still have the majority, the left-wing party, via voter fraud. I really firmly believe that, and it's been exposed.
Yes.
Do you think America has to get more involved to fix this issue since the People Power Party is undermanned, they don't have any. I don't think they have that much power. I think the people are on their side, but I'm talking about the system-wise. They just don't. It seems like, and even you see the division that's happening on the conservative side as well. I think so. I'm wondering what is the best method? Does America is option number one? America has to be involved and take over South Korea since it's completely gone, but bonkers. That's option number one. Or option number two, people need to rise up and they need their own kind of, so to speak, correction coup.
Yes, I think option number one and option number two should both be pursued full blast. Because basically, look, if this most recent election is allowed to stand, there is such a supermajority then in the National Assembly that they can amend the Constitution at will.
Yeah. But they barely blocked it, though. They did block it, right?
Well, prior to the election, the attempts to change the Constitution were blocked. But if this most recent election is allowed to stand, then they had the supermajority to allow them to pass constitutional amendments.
That's another severe danger. That's a crazy danger, right? That we're facing.
Yes, so I'm calling on the people of South Korea to rise up. They are the rightful sovereigns of the country. And I'm also urging the U.S. to take not half measures, but robust, decisive, strong measures that Trump is so good at doing to be able to save the alliance and to safeguard U.S. security interests and economic interests and other interests, because they are all at risk in a way that we've never seen to this extent.
Do you think the left-wing party and the right-wing party can somehow unite on this cause? Because I think a lot of left-wing party has been having issues with Ijeong trying to be a dictator, trying to,
Yes.
extend its presidency. Do you think
Yes.
that kind of alignment would also help somehow, or do you think the left wing is completely bonkers? We shouldn't even unite with them, or your thought?
Well, so if you look historically, it's the radical extremists that are aligned with Pyongyang and aligned with Beijing who purged the moderates inside of the Democratic Party of Korea. And so it's the radical extremists who are now in charge. And so whatever more moderate people are left, they're horrified because they're seeing, wait a second, you're destroying democracy in the name of democratization and restoration of democracy. Wait a second, it's like this is not the Democratic Party of 30 years, these are not the progressives of 30, 40 years ago. And actually, the thing is, you can't resolve these things at their root unless until North Korea ends and you have a reunification with a U.S.-aligned Korean peninsula, because North Korea has been trying every which way over the last 70, 80 years to take over South Korea. And so it has taken many forms. They create like a North Korea party that was made illegal, but now they've taken over the Democratic Party, which is now the vehicle of Pyongyang and of the CCP. And so this is what has happened. So the moderate faction has been pushed out, and those relatively few who are left, who are sane enough to be horrified by what's happening, they need to fight to save the country. At this point, it's not even so much of an issue of left or right. It is a matter of, do you want the country to even exist and continue? Or do you want it to be absorbed by North Korea? Do you want it to be a CCP satellite? Right. And so that's really what was at stake. Do you want any form of representative democracy to survive? Do you actually want a constitutional republic? Do you want free markets and the system that's created the prosperity here in South Korea? Do you want the alliance with the United States, which has been the greatest boon why South Korea even exists and has become the marvel that it had become? Or do you want all that to be destroyed? Yeah. That is the point. That is the point at which we're at.
We're at crossroads. I think this Han River miracle can just evaporate really all of a sudden, if we don't, if
Yes.
we are not paying attention to what's going on. And I think
Yes.
your legal situation is emblematic of really what's going on in South Korea.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a canary in the coal mine.
You're right. You're right.
If the canary is in trouble in the coal mine, that means the coal miners will be suffocated as well.
Yep. Did Ambassador Michelle Steele reach out to you?
So I have not had a meeting yet with Ambassador Steele, and I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to share publicly. But what I understand, and maybe I can say to this extent, I think there are efforts being made. I think through Ambassador Steele, and Ambassador Steele has an array of things that she is handling and that are on her plate. And there has been severe strain, if not for all practical purposes, the breaking of the U.S.-South Korean alliance. Mm-hmm. And so she's got a tough job right now. It's not easy,
right.
All the things that she has to deal with. Mm-hmm. And I think my situation is one amongst a number of things that she is dealing with, going after U.S. companies, the ways that things are not going the way they should in terms of military to military, in terms of the exercises. There's a lot going on here. And so she's got a tough job right now. Mm-hmm. And I pray that she's able to handle all these things really well because it is such a crucial time.
Yeah.
And I wish her all the best in these efforts that she is making.
Mm.
So she is operating on multiple fronts, if you will, and trying to handle a bunch of really important things. And it's not an easy job. And so I pray for it to go well. And there is such a need for things to go well because there are many serious issues right now
Yeah,
to deal with.
she's a dear friend of mine and her husband as well. You know, we know more than a decade, and she's well aware of your situation. I can tell you that. Before she went to South Korea, I mean, actually, before even she was appointed, we talked about your situation. So hopefully something really good comes out. Who's representing you? Is it Kim Jimi 변호사? Is she
Yes,
representing you?
and also Lee Ha-sang and also Ko Byung-sa. So the three of them are representing me.
Mm.
They're all together in one firm. Um, uh, attorney Lee Ha-sang has a reputation as being the best criminal defense attorney in the country,
Mhm.
and so I've trusted that they are doing their utmost to represent me well and to put forward the best case possible. But if this is, as it looks like, a show trial that will not be in accordance with law, then no matter how well they do, if there's a preordained outcome that is being driven after, then and if any decision made by a judge can be overruled by the president of the country, and if the police can be sent to sic the judges, sent to go after the judges, you just don't have the rule of law anymore in this country, and you do have this emerging communizing dictatorship
Mhm.
that is in play, and so that's the horrifying reality of what is happening here in South Korea. And the sooner that there is, I think, robust action taken both within as well as from the United States government, that is what is called for during this time. The Korean War hasn't ended,
It's not
and
ended. No, it's armistice.
it's still going on, and it has taken all sorts of different forms. And the hybrid unrestricted warfare by the Chinese Communist Party, they are very public about what they're doing.
Right.
They have said these are the 24 ways we engage in hybrid unrestricted warfare. They've declared a people's war on the United States of America. And so this matters a whole lot to the United States and to the alliance. Of course, it matters greatly to the people of Korea.
Yeah.
And I think more and more Koreans are becoming aware of that. But these are, in crisis, there is also opportunity.
Yep. That's
This
true.
can be the historic time
Mhm.
that the Koreas are reunited and aligned robustly with the United States, with the greatest systems that have ever been devised economically and politically,
Yeah.
and with the greatest country in world history, that is the United States of America. And the South Korea that reflects the US and the image of the US more than arguably any other country in the world is in danger of falling out of the US orbit. That is the terrible reality that we are and danger that we are
Yeah.
staring down the barrel of right now.
Right. And I think United States are regretting tons of it, to offshore their manufacturing base. That's how China got rich. The trickle down effect
Yes,
actually happened. America's rich
yes,
went to China and CCP grew, despite their communism system, and then we're dealing the mess. So I
yes,
think, it all started from United States. I think they meant well. They wanted CCP to become a, democratized Western kind of style
yes,
democracy nation, but
yes,
I think that was probably, it was a false hope from the get-go, and I think now we're dealing the aftermath of whatever meaning that we meant good. I think we didn't
yeah,
want
yeah,
China to become an evil nation. We wanted them
yeah,
to kind of join the,
yeah,
democratic society and become one of
right,
us in a way, so to
right,
speak. But
right,
I think
yeah.
that was a very naive mentality on our side. And what about the legal bills? I mean, is it pro bono? I mean, are you setting up a fund, or I'm just out of curiosity. Can you mention it?
Well, so I'll say this, that my attorneys have never asked for 1 cent from me, but I have made an effort to provide remuneration for what they have done, for which I'm very grateful. But this is not because they ever asked me for a dime. They did not. But the worker is worthy of the wages, as the scriptures say, and so I have wanted to provide remuneration to them, notwithstanding the fact that they've never asked me for it. And to your point of what you were saying before, Trump's doing a great job of bringing back manufacturing to the United States. Trump is also doing a great job of controlling the sources of oil to the CC.
Yep. He cut off, right? The Venezuela and Iran.
And there was also, yeah, yeah, yeah. There was also this false notion that if there are markets that are operating as markets not completely free, but at least somewhat free in China, that respect for human rights and basic freedoms would automatically follow. And there were various studies that were cited that were correlating the two, but correlation is not the same as causation. And so assuming that, these rights and freedoms would automatically follow market freedoms and something more towards a market system has proven not to be true with respect to the Chinese Communist Party, because you see actually the opposite that has been taking place, where there is more of a crackdown and more of a suffocation of the basic rights and freedoms going on in China. They should not be manufacturing our antibiotics.
No, I don't think
there's
so.
no way they should be manufacturing.
And even like
things
steel, right? Or
Yeah.
armor vehicles. Like we can't make them.
Yes.
China make American tanks, right?
Yes. And, when you have the largest steel company in the world, POSCO in South Korea, when they are selling off assets to Chinese entities, the US should be concerned about that too. And so I've been scanning the whole landscape of what is going on, and there are so many alarming, concerning signals. When you have South Korean companies who are being suffocated so that they're going to have to move to other places because they are being stomped upon here. These are all things that are transpiring, and this should not be allowed to continue in this direction.
Right.
These things need to be strongly and robustly reversed.
Ambassador, probably this is a blessing in disguise, Probably God wants you to kind of study more about South Korea, what's really going on by, staying there. I mean, I know it's difficult for you to decipher it that way, but I'm wondering, this is all, God's plan. I think obviously it is, and I think you get to know South Korea more. You're involved in this. You're the story of it right now. It's an international story. You have all sorts of articles, from Washington Times, Epoch Times, and even National Review covering what's happening regarding you. How's your family holding up?
Yeah, it's been hardest on them. And I agree with what you're saying in terms of how God is sovereignly using all this, because he can take even things that are unjust, things that are wicked, and bring good out of that. And so I see God doing that. And I have been steeped in this situation in many ways, and I'm continuing to research and study it in depth. And so I have learned a lot, I know a lot, and I'm continuing to research it in depth. And so, I'm, in a lot of ways, the Lord has been using me to kind of encourage and mobilize and lead this counter-revolutionary movement in South Korea, to fight for the U.S.-Korean alliance, to fight for justice, for truth. And I think the Lord is using even the things that are adverse for his purposes and for good and for his glory. And so I'm living that. It has certainly been with all sorts of challenges that have come along with it. It's really sad how certain people in the conservative movement, engage in cannibalizing and attacking within the movement. It's really foolish how that is being done, and it's given weaponry to the extremists on the other side to then attack on that basis. And so there have been no lack of challenges, but I also think, like you were alluding to before, it looks like we're in a turning point.
Yeah.
That things are turning, and there are many things that are turning for the better. Mm-hmm. And so praise God for that. And I think God is at work in some amazing and powerful ways. And I would love to see that continue. And as people pray, as people continue to work in that direction, I really think that, history is really his story, God's story.
Yep.
And he is the main actor, he is the author, and he is at work. And I believe that he can really turn things in an amazingly positive direction, even through this turning point time and moving into the future.
Yeah, I read the Washington Times article. I mean, this is not the one that attacked you. I mean, the one that just, wrote as it is. And in the article, you mentioned that you feel like this is God's calling, that you want to talk about what's going on in South Korea. And then in the last sentence, it was kind of meaningful. I mean, I keep replaying that. You said you knew the risk.
Yes.
You knew the risk when you were going there to South Korea. Yes. And that line kind of, rung, something inside of me. And I think, you are fighting for something very important right now. What's going on in South Korea? South Korea is in a mess. It's a very problematic nation. We think that K-pop, K-drama, K-movie, K-food, these are all popular and all that stuff. But what's actually going on, there's something very rotten there. I think South Korea is a very rotten country. I mean, it's my home country, but that's what's happened. And we just didn't know about it. We didn't pay attention to it. And now we are paying attention to it. Has become one of the major stories, internationally. And I really hope something good can come out of it. I think this is a force that we're fighting against, this evil force. I pray for you and your family that, God protects you. Is the People Power Party helping you? Because they're supposedly the pro-America party. And I'm wondering whether they're helping you in any kind of way.
Yeah, so I met with one of their members with whom I've had a good relationship. And I think that person was interested in how that particular member could be of help. So, and I've noticed that more PPP people have been recognizing things like election fraud, which is a very positive development to see that. As you're alluding to, I did not come because of the risk. I came in spite of the risk.
Yeah.
And I came at God's calling. And so that is why I'm here. There are people who have spun this false story that I came here. There's all sorts of false stories. There are stories like I came here to, knowing that I would be travel banned and did it as a publicity stunt.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then there's also people who said I came here to make money. No, I came here in spite of, I've turned down 14 places.
I mean, they changed their law to indict you. They were not, so they actually gave up on indicting you, right? And then they changed the law. That goes, that narrative is just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And they had said before I arrived that they had no jurisdiction. And then they changed that too. And now they're saying, oh, the person who is suffering harm is here in Korea, and therefore we have jurisdiction. That's nonsense. There's no way they have jurisdiction over what a American citizen said in America, protected by the U.S. Constitution.
I think already America's paying more attention because we have Representative Young Kim talking about what's going on with you, and more internet, like articles, like National Review and Washington
Yes.
Times, Epoch Times. So I think now it sheds a light of what's really going on in South Korea, and it's a
Yeah.
rotten country. I mean,
Yeah.
it's systemically there's something really severely wrong with that nation right now, and I think I mean, something has to happen at this point. I
Yeah.
mean, something has to
You
happen.
know, yeah, that's right. The CCP has engaged in, and North Korea has engaged in massive elite capture.
Yeah.
And so, I was talking to a movie producer recently, and he said 97% of that industry has been
Taken
elite
over.
captured.
Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder.
And so
Yeah, they're spreading a lot of anti-American messages too, like Quemur,
that's
a
right.
lot of how the
That's
movies
right.
that it's pretty much
Yeah.
anti-America,
Yeah.
anti-capitalism,
Yeah. No,
and
that's right. So, I watched this movie that was produced called Take Off. It was about the uh, Korean Olympic ski jump team. And,
oh, is it
and,
국가대표?
and what's that?
Is it old? And is it an old movie?
I saw it on one of those streaming things. I don't know if it was Netflix or if it was
Okay, okay.
Amazon Prime or
I think it
what.
sounds like 국가대표, but yeah,
Yeah.
is that a patriotic movie or it's not?
No, I'm
Oh,
giving this an example of
okay.
in the middle of that movie, there's this sudden fight that breaks out between the members of the Korean team the American
Really?
team, and it's like there's no reason that was necessary for the
Wow.
plot.
There's an
There's no
anti-American sentiment there.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's no reason to include that in there.
I bet
But
CCP
they
is one of the producers.
yeah, yeah. And so you have a entertainment industry that is so tilted along these lines as well. And so entertainment, legal system, education, unions, every branch of government. Why are there North Korea study groups in the judiciary? North Korea doesn't even have a real judiciary. All the judiciary of North Korea does, they don't run trials. They just announce the sentences that have been preordained by Kim Jong-un and the party.
Hmm.
That's all they do. And you're studying North Korea? Why? When you're a judge in South
Yeah,
Korea?
it's ridiculous.
And they're acting more and more like that.
They even
And so this
published
is,
a book about biography of Kim Il Sung or something, right? For kids. I think that was
yeah,
also, that's
yeah, there
ridiculous
was
too.
an educational broadcasting
Yeah,
system was putting this friendly, cartoonish
yeah,
looking thing of Kim
yeah. That's
Jong-un.
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so they're doing that as well. So the things that are going on, these are deliberate. They are insidious. They are many, and it is attempting the comprehensive communization, North Koreanization of South Korea.
Wow. Any last words you want to say, Ambassador? And is there a way for us to help you in any kind of way?
Well, if I could be of service, and I believe I can be, if given a chance again, to the Trump administration for people to raise that idea,
Hmm.
that would
The
again
special
be,
envoy, right?
for example, there's any number of things that I could potentially do, but one that carries diplomatic immunity, one that things that relate to the Korean Peninsula. Maybe those are the ones I could potentially contribute most and best to. And so I know people have been reaching out to the White House, people have been reaching out to the State Department, and I would ask for that. If I'm in one of those positions that carries diplomatic immunity, that would be the
Hmm.
best way it would actually provide a face-saving way
Yes.
to end the politicized lawfare that is and persecution that is happening against me, and it would enable me to be able to bring the wealth of knowledge and experience that I have to bear for the United States of America, for the alliance, for the Trump administration, and I would be eager and excited to do so again.
Hmm.
And so I continue to applaud so many things that the Trump administration is doing.
Hmm.
It's astonishing all that is being accomplished and done. I've just been cheering, 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 and also, as people, if they want to look at all the things I'm saying publicly and all the media things, it has been 100% supportive of the Trump
Yeah.
administration.
No question.
without fail and without exception. So that is the truth of the matter, and it would be a tremendous honor to be able to serve again.
Yeah.
It was awesome to be able to serve in Trump 1, and Trump is making history in so many ways, and I would like to help him to make history in regards to the Korean Peninsula as well, which would be potentially maybe the biggest thing since the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah. And I think a couple years ago when we first met, you wanted to join the second administration if it happened. So, if it happens, I hope it happens, and that will be a huge embarrassment to Ijeong's face, if it happens. So, anyway, good luck, sir. And, we're praying for you every day, and hopefully you can come back home safely.
Thank you. The time that I'm spending here, I think God is using it and is continuing to use it. And I want to make good use of the time that's here as the opportunities present themselves for me to continue to serve from the outside as I have been doing.
Hang in there, and hopefully we can meet here in the States pretty soon.
That would be wonderful. I would look forward to that.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you very much.
Yes. God bless you.
God bless
It's been good to talk with you.